There is nothing wrong with your radio.
Do not attempt to adjust the volume.
We are controlling the broadcast.
For the next hour we will control all that you hear.
You are about to experience the knowledge and insights of the Media Mothership.
Okay. Hey, you're listening to Edge Radio, 99.3 FM. This is Media Mothership now. And look, okay, full confession, it's been a month since I've been able to get back into the driving seat to do Media Mothership. So I'll confess, it's, the muscle memory's not there. So yes, we have had a couple of technical hiccups, but now I'm confident that everything's according to plan. I'm Dr. Craig, of course, and I'm joined by Lord Taylor. How are you, Lord Taylor?
Yo!
You're not helping.
What do you mean?
Okay.
That was fantastic. We had, this is on your show, but when, the second week after you left or something like that, Ollie came on my show.
Oh, really?
It's crazy.
Great. Well, Ollie, of course, one of our great volunteers here at Edge Radio.
Time Top Tunes.
Time Slot Tunes. Well worth listening to.
Yeah.
So here on Media Mothership, what do? We explore... I'm going to answer that because I was afraid
I was
would.
getting ready for it. So.
All right. We explore how media can shape our understanding of the world around us, and we look at bizarre media phenomenon. What is it you think we do?
Huh? We look at all of the great media, not even centric, just minorly part of media things that happen. That's what we do.
It's very true. Including stories of how core properties become popular. So let's start with what I've found as one of the really unusual stories that's come across my desk. I'll play a short snippet to put people in the zone of what it is.
Okay.
Sorry, it's going to be after this thing.
What, an ad?
Well, it's muted. This is a piece looking at the Jar Jar Lego event.
Again, you say Lego. Instead of Lego.
Here we go.
Time. It's falling apart. The building blocks of the galaxy are getting mixed up. This doesn't make any sense. Worlds will change. People will change in ways we cannot possibly imagine. I don't love that. This is wild. X-Wing TIE Fighters? Ewok bounty hunters?
These are going to hurt you, sir.
Darth Jar Jar?
Yeah. So that I'll play that once more. The big reveal.
These are going to hurt you, sir.
Darth Jar Jar?
Yep. So this is a Lego video game.
A what video game?
The Lego.
Okay.
How do you pronounce it?
Lego.
Darth Jar Jar trending after Lego Star Wars. Rebuild the Galaxy trailer reveals Sith version of character. It seems from the trailer what they're going for is a type of inevitable multiverse of excitement in Star Wars where things which didn't happen in the canon are now occurring. You know, I think there's like Ewoks as bounty hunters.
Oh, right, yeah.
And included within that is one of the really notorious fan theories, which was Jar Jar Binks was actually a villain character. Do you have any memories of the Star Wars films? I mean, it was May the 4th last week.
Of course. I've seen all the Star Wars films.
Sometimes I wonder.
It's so funny, though, because I always find that, you just think, when I think of Star Wars now, I'm like, oh, this is rubbish. This is terrible.
Oh, okay.
But then when I watch it, it's like, for the 2 weeks after that, it's like, yeah, it's awesome. And then it just sort of peters out again. And then I have to watch it again to be like, oh, that's awesome. And then I'll go around hitting things.
It's interesting because in that cycle, I think emerged the Jar Jar theory. Have you heard the theory of Jar Jar Binks?
No.
As a Sith Lord. So it's, of course, Jar Jar Binks was a character introduced in the prequel series that
He was most loved by everyone.
He was, of course, hated at the time. It's since moderated, that view, but Jar Jar was a character introduced into Phantom Menace, the first film of the prequels, met with a really lukewarm, if not outright hostile reaction from many fans as the kind of attempt at a comic relief character, which many people pointed at didn't quite work. There were a number of problems that some fans had with that character. And you know, I think much to the detriment of the poor actor that performed that role. Interestingly, he was later brought on, I think it's in the Book of Boba Fett series or the Kenobi series. He reappeared, cast as an actual Jedi in that one. Anyway, the Jar Jar theory is, so you have this Gungan kind of character that's kind of slapsticky.
Gungan style.
Not Gungan style. Yet at certain pivotal moments, he actually becomes a key protagonist in what's happening. So, for instance, he's the one in the Senate meeting that puts forward the nomination for Emperor Palpatine to become the sole ruler of the democracy, right? So, you know, setting up the idea of the Dark Emperor, as well as the idea that he can perform clearly kind of Jedi-level stunts. And so, again, this theory is that actually all along he was performing the buffoon, but in reality he was a Sith villain, right? Which is what this little clip from the Star Wars trailer is suggesting. We'll listen to one more time.
These are going to hurt you, sir.
Darth Jar Jar?
That actually, yes, he's this lightsaber wielding Darth Vader equivalent, if not worse, character.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So again, that got pitched.
At least he gets to be a little bit interesting, I guess.
Yeah, look, I mean, I love those fan theories for that very reason. So the article.
Well, it's not a theory now because it's a thing, isn't it?
Oh, yes. It's one of these moments where fan ideas gets incorporated into actual storytelling. So while, of course, the Lego universe isn't canon per se, nevertheless, it clearly shows that the rights holders, you know, Lucasfilm would have been definitely involved in this, have been more than happy to incorporate that in a licensed product, the Lego Star Wars game, which is very story driven. I don't know if it would get me to play it, but I was amused to see the trailer. And, you know, I got to admit, I'm a real sucker for multiverse ideas of variant what if scenarios. Given that it taps into fan culture, I thought it was really cute. Some of the comments on Twitter include one from Mark Hamill saying, "You had me at Darth Jar Jar."
Who's Mark Hamill?
He played Luke Skywalker.
Yes, I know that. I'm getting you to say that for the people at home.
Oh, okay. Noah writes in to say, Darth Jar Jar being officially recognized by Lucasfilm was not on my 2024 bingo card. Yeah, so again, that point that it's interesting that it's getting recognized. Donovan McComish writes, they did it. They actually went and did Darth Jar Jar. This is going to be the most insane Lego Star Wars special by several hundred light years.
Wow.
Mind blown emoji and smiley face emoji. So, yeah, look, I mean, it's clever. I mean, I think many people have been feeling some fatigue. May the 4th comes around, and it's I guess it's a fun, playful little connection there. Do you have any thoughts about how that could be continued?
What, Star Wars in general?
Darth Jar Jar, would that be a character you'd be keen to see more of?
Yeah, I haven't played or seen any of the Lego Star Wars anything before, so I don't know how they're going to put it together or what sort of stylization they put with stuff like that. But I'd be interested to see it in terms of an actual movie or series.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what the current thing that's around the corner with Star Wars. So,
they seem to be pumping out all manner of rubbish at all the time.
All right, talking not of rubbish now, but again, a slight change. There's an article on Lifehacker talking about why radio is still better than the Spotify algorithm.
Right.
The subtitle being, sometimes you need actual human curation instead of just more of what you already like. So this article, just to give you a basic summary of it.
A ChatGPT summary?
No, this is going to be my effort to actually remember the article. It's one of those classic experiences I think many people that listen to stream music, most of us, in fact,
not me, but
experience,
sure.
Which is where the algorithm of the stream engine you're using does suggested listening, right? You know, you might enjoy this, you might enjoy that. And the author here is complaining, Justin Pott, the author, is complaining that actually what it's suggesting is not really that novel, and it's not really that exploratory, he's feeling, right? That, in fact, he'll find that the suggestions sometimes get stuck in these particular kind of funnels of music content. So he said that for instance, the music he was listening to seemed to get him stuck into a what he referred to as the sad girl indie music scene.
Wow.
So it was constantly referring to curated playlists that were sad girl starter pack, sad indie pop hits, My Life is a Movie, and all of those he felt just got stuck in his suggested feed for months. And he was kind of frustrated that actually it was just an echo chamber. So his suggestion is that actually a radio station, like the very one you're listening to now, Edge Radio 99.3 FM.
Unless you're listening on the podcast.
And then hopefully you can tap into the website, edgeradio.org.au, will perform a far better job at actually taking you through music. You know, if you're interested in a type of music, going into where there's a DJ that's curated an hour's worth of programming. Like here, we've got some great radio station shows like The Ride.
Exactly.
With Pete. And he'll take you through, like I remember his one that he did on, I think it was offensive language in music. And he curates these really interesting pieces with the significance of them. And this article, anyway, is talking about how radio really has a far superior role than the algorithm in terms of if your goal is actually to become informed and experience a broader listening interest from a basis that you have curiosity in or existing listening in, that you will do it much more effectively through radio. Does that make sense to you? Do you reckon that argument would hold up anecdotally to your experiences?
I don't stream music.
Do you find radio a space that influences in any way your music interests? I mean, you do the K-pop Unlimited show. It's one where you offer some curation. Would you like to think that people would be tapping into that to get a kind of listening guide?
Well, if they are, they're foolish. Because I just play bubblegum pop girl K-pop tracks always.
Well, again, I think the wise words there is to choose your radio shows carefully.
Exactly.
Make sure you get one which has... but again, part of it is dipping your toe into some of the great content that's coming out of radio. And there are plenty of great community radio stations that are doing some really interesting content examples. All right, what I'm going to play now is just a little clip to see what this evokes in people.
He's having a baby!
I didn't know this was the something. I got a foot. Oh, she's got my belly here. Oh, I can see the butt.
It's working! Keep pushing!
Biscuits!
All right, what do we just hear then, Taylor?
Bluey.
Bluey, yeah. So for those that haven't seen Bluey or know Bluey, what is Bluey?
It's one of the best TV programs ever created, and definitely the best that Australia's ever created.
So it's who are the characters in Bluey?
That we heard in that sequence.
Yeah.
I don't have the thing up, but if I remember correctly, it would have Bandit, who plays the father. There will be the voice of Bingo and the voice of the neighbour, who's called Lucky's dad.
Now, that episode, what is the title of that episode?
Dad Baby.
Dad Baby. And what does the episode talk about? This feels like a quiz show.
Is it because you don't actually know? Or?
No. I've read.
Okay, so you're testing me,
this.
right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So what's it about?
Yep.
It's about it's a really nice story of Bandit, who's the father, who has a sort of like a blanket on around him, and one of his children goes in it, and to sort of like simulate the baby process of being born.
Yeah, so Bluey's curious to know, because he's grown up and seen the birth of his brother. Like Bluey's brother? Sorry, not
wow,
gender,
you've literally never seen this show before. They're two girls.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh, yeah, I've not seen this show. I missed it in terms of my demographic of my kids were growing up by that stage. All right, so, okay. And what we're listening to is, a playful way of unpacking that experience. Yeah. Why was that? What's the controversy with this? Is this episode considered amongst Bluey fans, which I'll position you as one?
Yeah.
A well-known episode?
Not in the US.
Yeah, why is that?
Because it was banned by Disney.
It was banned by Disney, that's
There's
right.
been heaps of stuff that's been banned by Disney, including the episode, I think it's called Market or something like that, where there is an image of a pony defecating.
Oh.
But in a really sort of funny
way, right?
And not disgusting or horrible humour at all sort of way. But that was enough to get it banned.
Wow. So this episode of Bluey indeed was banned, but has finally become viewable earlier this month in the US. And no one really knows why it was banned. I mean, there was no statement from Disney to say we're banning it for this reason. But the suspicion is it's that idea of maybe the performance of birth that the dad's doing.
I guess, yeah, it could be. Yeah.
The idea that again, there's kind of like, not only does he wear a kind of one of those kind of tummy holders with his youngest son in it to replicate pregnancy. Sorry. Child. Yeah. Also, there's the birth, the delivery of the child, right? So he lies down, and there's the kind of jokes around he's pushing, and one of the other characters has the hand up to help draw the newborn out. Mm-hmm. So yeah, on paper it paints quite a graphic image, but in the in the cartoon, it's quite amusing.
Yeah, it's very funny and very tastefully done as well. And
that seems to be the case here. I mean, the articles attracted attention because now that people have gone and watched it, given its notoriety of being banned, which normally you associate with, is this about Satanism or is it about something really extreme? And you watch it and you think, this has no real offense that I can locate within it. Yeah. Of course, this does dovetail into the current political drama playing out in Penrith, in Western Suburbs. I don't know if it's Penrith, it's Western Suburbs of Sydney, where the local council banned a co-parenting book.
All right, yeah.
And there's threats of funding. So yeah, again, we shouldn't just point the finger at the US and say those silly people in the US banning non-offensive material. Equally, there's debates occurring in Australia around similar content, which are polarizing communities around whether or not this is considered offensive or not.
But also there are silly people in the US as well.
Silly people everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not just the US.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to do some linking music. This one's not as exciting as hoping. It's a bit morning TV.
It is a bit, yeah.
All right. So the next story I want to look at is, okay, yeah. I'm just trying to decide which one I want to look at. Let's build up to Japan, right?
Okay.
So there's I've still got this music playing. There's so we talked about Star Wars.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to play you a scene from Star Wars, and I'm going to talk about something about this scene.
Okay.
All right.
Una puta solo? Yes, Greedo. As a matter of fact, I was just going to see your boss. Tell Jabba that I've got his money. Song bichale. Maratamti nach makichitha. Jabba wa ninki koch bamushani kaitani wanyaruska.
All right, so do you know that scene?
You don't have it up there, so I can't exactly say, but
Theater of the Mind.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the
I don't
fourth, fifth, sixth ones.
Yep, New Hope.
New Hope. Obviously, it's got Jabba the Hutt in it. Probably,
Well,
and
yes and no.
Oh, what? That was the same Jabba.
Yeah, but he doesn't appear in the
But yeah,
the special editions put him back in, but the
right.
original theatrical release you don't see Jabba. He refers to yes. This is the infamous cantina scene where Han Solo is confronting the bounty hunter Greedo. And, of course, there's that whole debate who shot first because the theatrical release showed Han firing first, and the later recuts showed it was kind of both fight at the same time. Anyway, what's really interesting about this is the subtitles, right? Of course, Greedo's speaking in Greedo language, and there's subtitles underneath it. And this links to the TV series Shōgun, right? Shōgun has a hidden Star Wars influence.
Wow.
Yeah, really fascinating article on Polygon talking about how one of the showrunners, Justin Marks, wanted to match George Lucas's intention with this choice. So the link between Shōgun, which is based on James Clavell 1970s novel, 1960s novel, actually, Shōgun, that's currently just finished. It's Disney Plus and FX release. Has with Star Wars is subtitles, right? So this article interviewed the showrunners talking about how they spent a lot of time trying to decide on how they were going to subtitle the Japanese. And they wanted to find a particular font that the showrunner Justin Marks fell in love with watching Star Wars.
So it's that one that's at the beginning where it's all going outwards.
No, it's not the title. It's not that scroll font. It's the normal subtitles used for the aliens, which is said, clearly is a fantastic choice because it's obviously designed for an international market. It's easy to read English, script. Sorry, the font scripts. They spent all this time trying to track down a match for this 1977 Star Wars font. Because they felt it was such a fantastic, readable font, which they say the font itself they feel, was clearly easy to read by a kind of young audience that would be watching Star Wars, which I thought, was kind of fun to think that there's a link with Star Wars in Shōgun. Beyond the fact, of course, that Lucas was heavily influenced by samurai and Shinto and Kurosawa films when he put together the Star Wars mythos and the Jedi idea.
And all the samurai lightsabers that are around.
Yeah, the katana vibe. And, the film, the Kurosawa film Hidden Castle has very similar plot beats and character ensemble cast. So, that's interesting to consider something as innocuous as subtitles could be the thing. Yeah. Kind of fun music. I think this could grow on me. All right, next article.
Goes a bit long, though.
Next article I want to look at is Japan blocks overcrowded selfie spot, bans tourists from traditional areas to cope with explosion of travelers. So I've just gotten back from Japan myself. I've been over there for
And you caused this.
That's right. I was using my immense influencer power. My social media power was unleashed. And the ABC recently ran an article talking about how, and this is something I've been familiar with for a while. Pre-COVID, Japan had very much renewed its economy from a huge tourism surge, mainly from China, but including Korea and close Southeast Asian countries, but specifically China had a huge tourism explosion into Japan. So much so that key locations like Kyoto, which is one of the kind of more heavily traditional areas of Japan where people go and they can have various experiences of your kind of tea ceremony. It's this small city, but it's regarded as one of the kind of premier traditional sightseeing spots, right, which has a lot of history and tradition in it. That has been swamped so much by tourists that even locals are struggling to get to work on time as they're battling with tourists to kind of, get a seat on the train or a standing position on the train. So it's a real a struggle. And
well, when we went to Japan,
so I took a whole group of students to Japan as a lecturer here at UTAS at the time, and I got New Colombo planning funding for it.
And there was we ensured that someone didn't get to their work on time, didn't we?
Well, it was one of those boxes to tick, it seemed. No, what I do remember, I don't know if it was the trip you were on, but it was down in Fukuoka, which is the location that I'd taken your study group on.
Yeah.
So it's one of the southern islands, or the main southern island. A student was talking to me later saying, that they thought there was an auction which happened in the middle of this electric... like a kind of Harvey Norman shop they were at. And there was a lot of screaming, and there was this guy that was kind of addressing each person, and then they were getting the objects, they were moving out, and by the end of it, most of the store had been emptied out of goods. And I'm saying, no, that wasn't an auction. That was a group of tourists that kind of flocked in from the cruise ship, and they all came in as a big group. And it's amazing, actually, because I've never seen a huge group, like we're talking 30, 40 to 50 tourists all in a tightly packed bunch that then hit a store, and there's a tour guide there, and they're all yelling, they're all very loud, and they just bought tons of stuff. And this poor student, I'm saying that's not a typical experience. That is, so I certainly experienced this kind of... and again, I people could refer to that as a kind of a locust experience, almost kind of thing.
No, what I was referring to was when you asked someone for directions.
Oh, okay.
And they literally walked us down halfway across town in order to get to where we actually wanted to go.
Yeah, right. He definitely would have been late for whatever he wanted to do. That's right. Yeah, that was on the first day or something. We were trying to get to the hotel. And again, it's one of the reputations Japan does have of being immensely polite and helpful to tourists so far. I do wonder whether or not there'll
be a change in that because of this. Yeah.
There's some really interesting clips. There's one in particular of a convenience store, a Lawson convenience store. So if you go to the article, it features this Lawson convenience store, which has become famous because it was featured in some pop culture as a great location which had Mount Fuji in the background, and it's just got a kind of nondescript Lawson in front of it. But then it became this kind of media pilgrimage site where, if you see the footage, there's all this queue of people outside the Lawson convenience store just doing selfies or posing as cars are trying to park and trying to back out and try to get in. But it's packed with tourists in the car park. So it's one that does remind me a little bit of the Ross Bakery here in Tassie. I know we have a similar kind of... the pros and cons of tourism for a media location. So the Ross Bakery, of course, has this idea that it was inspiration for Kiki's Delivery Service Bakery, which Jubilee have since debunked and said they never did any footage preparation or sourcing from the Tasmanian Ross Bakery. But it still hasn't prevented that story to spread. And I think if you go to the Ross Bakery, it does evoke some similarities to the anime Kiki's Delivery Service and the kind of, colonial period bakery which is featured in it. But I do know that at times some tourists will go to that bakery just to, again, do that. Take photos in front of it, stand on the road, oblivious to traffic, not worry about going in and buying a vanilla slice, which are particularly nice. and just head off, right? So the idea that then it's not sustaining any economy.
Yeah.
It's purely just causing potential hazards around it. So yeah, there was one bit of weird media tourism I did do in Japan, which is I'd been watching the Shōgun series, and so in the Shōgun series it highlights a character they called Toranaga, that's based on a real historical figure, Tokugawa, who was 1600, late 16th century into early 1600s shogun that united Japan, and Shizuoka, where we spent some time, has his final resting space. So we went there and we found that there is this exclusive Gundam model kit that you can get there only from that store and one other in Shizuoka. And Gundam, of course, for those that don't know, is a famous robots anime series. And this is this weird bit of media tourism where you have to go to this shrine to get the Tokugawa.
We don't have to go.
Well, you really are missing out. You go to this shrine and you get this Tokugawa-themed Gundam robot model kit to put together. Mm-hmm. Sadly, the cheap one was sold out, so I had to invest in a very expensive one, which I've then informed the family is going to be a family bonding experience to do together, the Tokugawa Gundam. So that was a real bonus. And one of the things about the Tokugawa area, Shizuoka in particular, is that it's considered kind of ground zero for a lot of model making. Tamiya, one of the premier world famous scale model companies, is headquartered in Shizuoka, Bandai as well. And in the Tokugawa shrine area, they have these model kits and this small explanation saying that some people suggest that a reason that Shizuoka became famous as a base, a headquarters for scale models in Japan, was because Tokugawa set up Shizuoka as a location for a lot of craftspeople.
All right,
Craftswoman. Yeah. It's also considered to be a good location because a lot of the early scale models were made of wood that you'd put together. And Shizuoka has forests that could be used to
very helpful
make wood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my one bit of media tourism. I don't think I got in anyone's way when I was doing it. I don't know, if you've been to Tokyo, you'd also see there are people, there's like the Mario Karts that you can get into, and that always seems crazy that they drive around in these real, like, they're basically go-karts that we'd use here, but they're, for some reason, able to be driven on the road. And they're dressed up as Mario characters, so foreigners use them. You can hire them, or you go in a group, it seems. I've never done it. But they're all dressed up as like Luigi and Mario and all the characters. And you'll see them zipping through congested Tokyo traffic. And it's like, oh, wow. I wonder what that's like. Yeah. So that is the craziness of that. There is this list. I'll just do this quick list before I go to the next story, which is back in, this is a bit outdated now, 2015, anime fans rank the must-see anime pilgrimage sites to Japan. I'll just run through the ones that I'm familiar with. Number one, of course, is from My Neighbor Totoro. Have you seen that one by Ghibli?
Of course I have.
Great.
I've
Just
seen
in case. All right. So this is a famous one. It's set in the, is it the interwar period, post-war period? No, I think post-war period. Yeah, 1950s, 60s. And, it's in this kind of rural setting. So you need to get to Higashimurayama in Tokyo or Tokorozawa. And Tokorozawa area in Saitama.
Wait, I think I know a bit of trivia about that. Like Grave of the Fireflies.
Yep, World War II tearjerker.
Is when the it's like when the bomb dropped.
That's right. Hiroshima.
Whereas Totoro was the antithesis of that.
Yeah.
Of when the bomb hadn't dropped.
Oh, okay,
That's
kind of an alternate what if. Yeah, look, it's interesting. Some people point to the scene where the Totoro creature causes the tree to grow as a kind of symbolic kind of anti-atom bomb. Right?
Yeah.
If you see how the big tree grows and blossoms or forests itself, it's kind of like a mushroom cloud. But it's so yeah. Many people have drawn some interesting analogies.
Maybe I think because they were released in the same year.
They were.
I think,
yeah.
and
I think they were.
And they had releases where they played one and then the other.
Yeah.
Because it was like, this is the terrible, this is the good.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah, it seems to be. I have heard that. I do know that if you've not seen it, Graveyard of the Fireflies is a real. I feel it's a real manipulative film.
It is
because it's just tragic, right? It just sets you up for tears.
It does,
the end. And it deals with the two main protagonists, our young brother and sister have lost their parents, I think.
Yeah,
and they're trying to survive in this devastated late war Japan. Actually, I think it's the firebombing of Tokyo.
It is, yeah.
Right, yeah. So it's not Hiroshima and the atom bomb. It's the firebombing of Tokyo that it portrays. Yeah. It is not a destination to see on a Mogian pilgrimage, though, however. Number 2 is Whisper of the Heart, train station. Slam Dunk, which is the basketball series, is a district in Kanagawa. Neon Genesis Evangelion. You got to get over to Hakone. Don't know what the Neon Genesis Evangelion link there is. I'll have to look into that. Ponyo, another Miyazaki film, is in Hiroshima.
Well, where's that? Because Ponyo, most of the movie, they're underwater.
There's the coastal village, right?
Oh, I suppose.
It's in that coastal village spot. Lucky, I've not seen Anohana. That's in Saitama. Lucky Star, I do know at the time when this article was written, 2015, was huge, and there was a huge media tourism phenomena of people going to the location that was portraying. Yeah. So yeah, there is of course media tourism here at this very studio, Edge Radio. Edge Radio was featured in episode 5, season 1, as the community radio station of Rosehaven.
Yes.
We have yet to get any people joining my tours that I run of this location, but they are there. Yes. So if you do want to come and get your photo taken on the very film location of episode 5, season 1, Rosehaven's community radio station, feel free to come into Edge Radio and become a member.
Yep.
And then you can come and have a look.
On Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Thursdays. All right, let's try a slightly different music cue now. That's Masquerade.
By
Luna.
Oh.
Yep. So the other article I want to go on about is Dead Boy Detectives, which is a streaming series. I think Neil Gaiman's associated with it. Right, Dead Boy Detectives. Anyway, streaming series, which has an episode which proves yaoi would save a repressed Edwardian schoolboy.
I prefer Kinder Eggs.
Really? To help repressed feelings?
Compared to yaois.
Of course, yes. So, 2 meanings of yaois. What's the meaning of yaoi that you're pulling on there?
Chocolate.
It's also isn't it a mythical creature?
Oh, yeah. It's some sort of...
It's the yaoi. It's a mythical...
Yeah, well, I know in Final Fantasy X, it's a lizard.
But
I don't know whether it's an actual lizard in mythology.
It's also a genre of Japanese comics. What is yaoi in Japanese manga?
Chocolate.
Yaoi is same-sex love stories, often featuring bishonen, beautiful boys. They're often fan stories, right? So a lot of doujinshi, where fans will write a version of... Kirk, in the West, we'd refer to it as Kirk/Spock from Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
Where you take these two heteronormative characters and you do your yaoi fan fiction version where they're actually married and lovers, right? So similar to this. And it's interesting, this series, Dead Boy Detectives, features this character who, young boy, died in the Edwardian period, but is a ghost now and is brought back in this comic series. or this streaming series, and Nico, played by Yuyu Kitamura, is one of his human companions who encourages him to read yaoi comics to help him address his repressed homosexuality, which I thought was kind of cute, right? Drawing upon this kind of Japan pop culture character to this kind of Edwardian period repressed boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's about it. That's about it for today's show. Yeah. There's only one other thing I want to say just about media events that have been cancelled because of tourism. There was one that happened in Melbourne back in December this year. There was a Harry Potter event that was going to happen in a Melbourne nature reserve. But thousands of petitions caused it to be moved. This was one which was going to involve, basically it was like a nature trail area, but they were going to put various kind of stunt areas you could do Harry Potter themed actions in, like you hold a wand. They're going to put the Whomping Tree car somewhere, I think, as well. Yeah, there it is. The Whomping Tree car, or the car that I guess that Harry flies. And
Ron
flies. So I could imagine that going very poorly here in Tassie if we tried equally to put that right. Anyway, so that's Media Mothership for another week. Coming up next, we've got K-Pop Unlimited. Yep. Taylor, what's happening on K-Pop Unlimited this week?
Music. I already told you at the start of the show. It's bubble gum pop girl bands every week. Actually, I'm going to start off with a song by Maud Fustang. So,
but look, there might be some trot music.
No,
right? Oh, okay. One day there might be trot music.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm so relieved this show has
finally worked.
So thanks very much for everyone's patience. Tune in next week. We'll get back into the rhythm of things, so it can only improve from here.
Yeah.
Keep listening to Edge Radio. More great music coming up with K-Pop Unlimited. Thanks for listening
if you're lucky.
Media Mothership.